Welcome all to the July 2019 edition of our Commodore 64 Game Roundup, where we take a look at some of the latest releases and previews on the scene. Let's kick off this month's episode with a review of Run Demon Run, an endless runner game developed by Icon 64 and published by Cytronic Software. The backstory as to why your demon character is running is irrelevant, as your objective is to simply accumulate as many points you can by running as far as you can, collecting boxes along the way for bonus points and jumping into mechanical robots in order to collect enough power-ups that will allow you to convert into a jet plane. Upon starting up the game, you will immediately be impressed with the size of the demon character and the smoothness of his animation. The parallax scrolling effect in the background is a nice touch, all topped up with a great driving musical soundtrack. Controls for these type of games need to be highly responsive, and I don't think we are let down on this front. You can move your demon character left and right within the play area, while pushing down will invoke a duck roll and the fire button will make your demon jump. As a rule of thumb, I don't like endless runner games. I was expecting to not get much enjoyment from Run Demon Run, and that the game would be repetitive, and my first play of the game confirmed this, or so I thought. You see, Run Demon Run has a few nice tricks up its sleeve. The first is that once you get past the initial section involving 3 jumps and a duck roll, the game map generated is different with every game. Add to this what I felt was a subtle layer of strategy in respect to knowing whether to position your demon forward or have him sit back to the left side of the screen, plus the transition to jet plane mode all adds up to a game that is deeper than what you initially expect. As a result, I was pleasantly surprised to end up investing a few number of hours over the course of 3 days or so as I tried to beat my score with each round, and I found myself continuously going back to the game from time to time. In putting this review together, I thought it would be handy to get a second opinion on the game, so I reached out to Bored Dog Games, fellow YouTube creator and Commodore gaming enthusiast, for his view on Run Demon Run. So BDG, what do you think?
Well, RGN, Run Demon Run is certainly a nice little technical showcase from the team at Icon, utilising parallax and high-res graphics for quite a pleasing aesthetic. However, I felt the large sprites means the visible play space can seem a bit restrictive, leading to some frustration when the pace picks up. Bayliss' soundtrack carries his trademark energy and complements the on-screen action, as Lucifer himself proves to be more nimble than anyone could expect. I'm not sure how much legs the game's actually got, and its longevity will probably be dependent on your buy into the endless runner genre. It's definitely worth a bit of a run out, but it's probably going to be quite short-lived.
Thanks BDG, all valid points you raised there. But you know, for me there is one glaring fault with Run Demon Run. Considering the game's objective is to beat your best score with every game, I find it dumb that the high scores are wiped out when you switch off the game. Oh well. All in all, I enjoyed my time with Run Demon Run. It's not going to convert many players who are not a fan of the endless runner genre, though it did convert myself. Those who are a fan of this type of game should get a real kick out of it. Now let's move on to a game preview. Providing some respite from the glut of platformers and shooters, we have Grubs, an interpretation of the Team 17 game Worms for the Commodore 64. An early preview of the game is now available, allowing you to participate in a single-screen 4-player game where the objective is to be the last grub remaining. To play the game, each grub takes their turn to move into position and sets a trajectory before firing off a shot at an opponent. A shot on target will result in the victim's health points gradually being reduced. While a lot more development is required to make it an engaging game of some substance, this early preview is encouraging, one to keep an eye out for. Crystal Caverns, developed entirely in BASIC by Elijah Gardner, is an old-school arcade platform game where your objective is to navigate the crystal miner around in the caves collecting crystals. The tunnels are patrolled by fire-breathing dragons, and you need to time your movement around the game map to avoid them, using the ladders as a safety place, as the dragons will sense you as soon as you are in their tunnel and they start chasing you down. Once all the crystals are collected, you'll warp to the next cavern to continue your crystal collecting adventures. Crystal Caverns is a competent homebrew game for you to check out. It's obvious Richard Bayless loves shooters. I mean, it feels like he releases a new one for the Commodore 64 every few months, and he's been doing it for so long now, you wouldn't blame him if he ran out of new ideas to adopt. Unfortunately, his collaboration with Sawcross on Cruiser X79 shows that this could be the case right now. This single level demo of Cruiser X79 is supposed to act as a showcase for the game and will not feature in the final version. But what is shown off in this demo is not very inspiring and adds nothing to a tie genre. The demo features some bland graphics overall, but it does move around quite well. But one thing I can't understand is why a spaceship flying high above the ground needs to navigate land obstacles. It just doesn't make sense. The annual SEA Compo for 2019 run by TND took place in the first half of this year, with the final results recently published. In third place was Fulgur by Alf Ingve, a vertical shooter that sees you control two fighter ships at once. The blue ship flies close to the ground and may crash into tall ground obstacles. This ship only fires forwards. The green ship can shoot in all directions and flies at a higher altitude, and as a result cannot crash into ground obstacles. Staying in tight formation will give you a double firepower effect, but you never really feel in control of your ship formation, and focusing too much on this will result in one or both of your ships being hit. Fulgur is nothing really special, and it does suffer from the usual SEA engine stutter when it's asked to do too much. The runner-up was Legion of the Damned 3 by Eleanor Burns, a horizontal scrolling game that sees you play as Xandra, a fearless female fighting warrior who must locate and destroy the deadly Brex ruin. The game contains some nice graphics, but it is let down by some weak enemy AI, and the game feels quite buggy. Trying to cross some of the bridges would often result in an inexplicable loss of life, despite there being no enemy character in sight. The fact that this finished in second place is probably reflective of the lack of quality games in this year's SEA Compo. Playing through all the submissions to the competition turned out to be somewhat of a dire affair. The clear winner of the competition is Pagoda Warrior 2 by Stefano Canali. Here we see you fight your way through 4 different pagodas in order to take down a criminal cult worshipping a flying snake of all things. Pagoda Warrior stands out as it tries to trick you into thinking that you're playing a vertical scrolling platform game, and for most part it pulls it off. It's a nice looking game that provides a decent challenge, but the limitation of the SEA engine becomes evident when you try to climb down ladders to avoid enemies and find that the game will not let you do so. Our second feature review in this episode highlights how good a game can be when utilising the SEA game engine. Precinct 20 Dead Strange sees you take on the role of the police detective Garrus, who's on the chase to hunt down a cult who have committed a string of ritual murders. To make things worse for Garrus, he also has to deal with a figure called the Birdman, who is on the loose, slaying people and pecking out the eyes of victims, while a stalker only known as Slenderman preys on lonely pedestrians. It's up to Detective Garrus to walk down these dark streets and make them safe once again. As you load up Precinct 20 Dead Strange and start playing the game, you're immediately hit with the sense that the game visuals give off a horror noir feeling. The street landscape comes off as a gritty environment and that danger lurks all around. The moody and creepy soundtrack from Richard Bayless gives the game a lot of atmosphere, drawing the player in to absorb the gaming experience on hand. Precinct 20 Dead Strange is split into 2 parts. In part 1, the game area is spread out over several different streets, alleys, parks and other locations. You must locate all the clues scattered around these locations while fending off various hordes of enemies, some of which can be quite large. Part 2 is a pure straight out shooting action where you need to make your way back to the precinct by killing everything in sight and running for your life. The game also features 2 different endings that are dependent on whether you collected all the evidence in part 1 of the game. I exclusively previewed Precinct 20 Dead Strange back in February, and my view of the game has not changed since. I continue to enjoy it very much. But I thought it would be great to get a second opinion on the game, so I reached out to Board Dog Games once again for his opinion.
I'm a big fan of some of Alf Ingvar's work, and his game based on the book of the same name is again an impressive effort. The first half is a little more pedestrian than what we're used to, as exploration takes precedent over the action, but the second half really kicks it into high gear though, backed up by another cracking Richard Bayliss soundtrack. Precinct 20 Dead Strange takes a little while to get into, and the shoot 'em up construction kit engine really creaks in places, causing the odd technical issue. But it is worth persevering with and is probably the best of the most recent wave of C64 commercial releases.
Thanks BDG, you make a good point about the game engine performance in some places. It really does stutter quite badly when it is being asked to handle a multitude of enemy characters. But if you are able to put this aside and persist with the game, you should find your efforts well rewarded. Well, I hope you have enjoyed this month's C64 Gaming Roundup, and I'd like to thank Board Dog Games for his contributions. If you're a fan of the magazine review format, like those featured on RetroGamerNation, and enjoy looking back at some obscure or lesser known titles for the Commodore 64 and Amiga, then you'll definitely want to subscribe to his channel. Links to Board Dog Games and the games featured in this episode are available from this video's description. To finish off this episode, I will leave you with a look at the C64 port of Endless Forms Most Beautiful by Ricky B80. The objective of Endless Forms is to grab all the imps and bonuses on screen to clear a stage while avoiding enemies. You can navigate from one platform to another via the many teleporters found on each level, or alternatively, exiting the screen to the left ascends a level, or exiting to the right descends a level. One thing to note is that some imps are hiding bombs, and when an imp is collected, you'll need to stay clear of that platform until the bomb has detonated. Endless Forms features some great music soundtracks and multiplayer gameplay, including co-op mode and versus mode. Endless Forms Most Beautiful is quite a fun game to play, and one that I will be spending a bit of time on until my next roundup video in early September. Thanks for watching, bye for now.